On today's episode of Let's Talk Money and Mortgages, we're going to be talking about sole trader versus limited company. What is a sole trader? What is a limited company? When should you change to a limited company? And what are the pros and cons of both? Hello, welcome back to our channel and podcast. My name is Gemma, and here at WAS we talk about all things relating to money, mortgages and positive money mindset. So if that interests you, then be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the thumbs up. It really helps with our YouTube algorithm and means that you won't miss out on any of our videos. On today's episode of Let's Talk Money and Mortgages, we have Vijay here with us today. Vijay is founder and director of WAS Accountancy. He's worked in the industry for over 20 years, and it's an absolute pleasure to have him back on the show today. Hi Vijay, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Gemma. Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
Oh, of course. So let's get into it. Today's episode is about sole traders and limited companies. So would you mind just giving us a brief overview of a limited company and a sole trader?
Yes, the key difference is the setting up. Sole trader is very easy to set up. You can call HMRC and say, you're a sole trader, and that's it. You can start trading from then onwards. Limited company, first you need to register with company's house as a company. You need to give a legal name and an address. And then company's house will trigger that registration to HMRC, and then you can start trading, and then you can make a decision to be VAT registered or not VAT registered. The other thing with a limited company and the sole trader is the ownership, right? So if you're a sole trader, you're the only person who runs the business, you own the business. But if you're a limited company, you can have multiple shareholders, multiple directors, coming together to start a business. So those are fundamental key differences, but we will discuss in detail in follow-up questions.
Yeah, sure. So if we're going to start, with being a sole trader, what are the benefits of being a sole trader?
As I said earlier, it's very easy to set up. Admin-wise, you don't have to file different things. You need to only file something called a self-assessment return. Personal financial run from 6th of April to 5th of April. And then you submit self-assessment return end of January following year. So that's the only kind of admin work. The third is the privacy. So if you're a sole trader, nobody knows you run a business except HMRC, right? But if you're a limited company, your name, your company, all that on the public domains, if somebody Googles your company name, they can find on company's house. Whereas a sole trader, you get much more privacy because, nobody knows your sole tradership except HMRC. Obviously, you might want to advertise as a sole trader, then people will get to know, but it does offer a bit more privacy compared to a limited company.
Yeah, and if you were a sole trader and you've been trading for a couple of years and your business is perhaps growing and you're thinking, should I change? Should I become a limited company? What would you say, are the benefits of becoming a limited company?
Quite a lot of benefits. In the calculations, the industry-wide acceptances, if your trading profits are about 21,000, you should be considering a limited company structure because there's a lot more tax advantages compared to a sole trader. And again, it's personal circumstances, right? But the benchmark number is 21,000. If you're a single person, working as a sole trader. The other main benefit of having a limited company, Gemma, is the limited liability that the limited company offers. When I say limited liability, what I'm trying to tell you is when you form a company, it's almost like giving a birth to a person, right? So that particular company can open a bank account, can sign contract, can have the insurance, can do anything pretty much you and me can do, except applying for a passport and a driving license, right? Because that has the legal identity. And even if I'm not there tomorrow on the base limited, somebody else can take this company and run with it. So there's quite a lot of advantage of continuous running of the business. For example, Apple. Founded by Steve Jobs, people run is quite different today. And because it's a limited company and it's not owned by one individual person. And because this has a separate legal entity, the liability is limited to number of shares. When I say number of shares, same as a Joe Bloggs is a window cleaner, right? And, he's cleaning a mansion and as a sole trader, he broke a couple of windows, right? And he doesn't have money in the company to pay for those windows. So he needs to pay or sell his car or, get personal loan to pay that damages, right? But if Mr. Joe Bloggs runs a company, his liability is limited to what's in the company. So if the company has only £1,000, the maximum he can pay for that damage is £1,000. And nobody can sue him to get the money out from his personal pocket to pay for those liabilities. So that gives a greater comfort as a business owner because your liabilities are limited to that limited company. Again, there are issues of giving directors guarantee, etc., which is much more deeper topics. But that's a key advantage of running a limited company. And icing on the cake is the tax benefits that limited company bring with sole tradership does not offer.
So I know you kind of touched on a bit of those tax benefits already, but are there any other ones that you wanted to mention of being a limited company?
Quite a lot of benefits being a limited company, right? For example, say Mr. Joe Bloggs started the company by himself and he's getting a lot of demand. He sees he can franchise that business, he can get some funding, and he can grow that business. If he's one-person company, it's hard to give shares of your own self, right? You can't cut yourself and sell your pieces. So if you have a limited company, you can easily kind of expand your business quite fast. You can sell your shares, expand the business, get the funding. That's the key advantage of a limited company because you can expand quite fast. And the second thing is bringing a group together. So, if you have Mr. Joe Bloggs and if you're doing the window cleaning and your wife is at home doing all the paperwork, you can only pay her a salary and you can't give anything top of it. But if you're a limited company doing the same thing, you can make your wife a shareholder of the company and you can give dividends, which is much more tax advantage rather than taking sole trade income, which has income tax and national insurance. So the tax advantages starting from sole trader. Sole trader, obviously, you pay national insurance as a self-employed and the class 2, class 1 national insurances. You pay income tax. First 12,570 is tax-free. Then from 12,570 to 50,000, if you live in England, that is, you pay 20%. And above that, you pay 40% tax. Whereas on the same scenario as a limited company owner, you do not pay income tax. You pay something called a corporation tax, which at the moment 19%. And any drawings that you take from the limited company, you pay something called a dividend tax, which is part of the income tax. And currently, for a basic rate taxpayer, dividend tax is 7.5%. Anything above is 32.5%. Again, you can share that company with your spouse, if they are helping a business, which means you basically utilize the tax ratios of both of yourself rather than just one individual person.
Yeah, okay. So how easy then is it to open a limited company? Is it something that anyone can just do, or do you need an accountant? How does it work?
No, you don't need an accountant, but it's always best to use an accountant because we can talk you through, your individual circumstances. There are times that we have discussed with clients and we be honest with the limited company might not be the best route from what you're telling me. You might be better off starting as the sole trader, right? So it's best to speak to an accountant because each individual scenarios are very different, right? But if you want to set up, yes, you can set up by yourself easily online, or you can speak to us. We can set it up quite fast. Within 48 hours, we can keep a company running. Yes, it's not hard. It's not hard to set up. But obviously, if you expect a turnover is about 85,000, etc., then you have to be VAT registered, payroll registered, etc. Again, best to speak to an accountant who can guide you through and do all this registration based on your requirements and your circumstances.
Yeah, and so if we're talking maybe about like the negatives of being a limited company, it sounds like there's a lot more going on. So is that, something that people need to bear in mind if they're going to be a limited company?
Yes, there's quite a lot of negatives too, right? Like anything else, everything has a pro and a con. But negativity comes with the limited company is the admin burden because, you need to do a lot more paperwork compared to self-employed. So there's confirmation statements, there's a company's account, there's returns to HMRC for the company, there's VAT returns, there's end of year payroll filings, and there's individual tax return filings. So that's much more paperwork compared to sole trader. The second thing is with sole trader, it's very easy to wind up. So, if you have Mr. Joe Bloggs running window company, you say, what, I've had enough of window cleaning, I'm going to shut it and, become a plumber. It's very easy to shut it up, right? There's not much admin work involved to shut down a sole tradership. Whereas if it's a limited company, there's a certain process that you need to follow to either strike off or liquidate your company. So it's much more complicated. The other main negative of running a limited company is the privacy. As I said earlier, if you have a limited company, it's on a public domain. Some people might not like it. Some people are not bothered about it. So, you do have that thing to consider if you run a limited company.
What kind of things are listed when you have a limited company? Is it just your name or everything?
So your name, after certain issues on privacy, they don't put actual birthday. Now they put the month and the year. Address, some people use something called a registered address. So if you're quite concerned about the privacy, you can use your accountant's address, or you can purchase a registered address, so you can keep anonymity, and obviously the name, right? So you'll see the full name of the directors and shareholders in the company's house website.
Okay. I know you touched a bit earlier on the VAT, but maybe just for anyone who doesn't understand, when do you start claiming VAT or register for VAT, or how does that work if you're a sole trader or a limited company?
The mandatory threshold for VAT registration is £85,000 per year as a turnover, but people can register voluntarily even if you don't reach £85,000. What you need to understand is if you register for VAT, when you sell something, you need to charge VAT, right? So some people are quite concerned about, charging VAT, because that pricing goes up. But the good thing about charging VAT is whatever the VAT expense you have, you can get that back. Going back to the Joe Blocks the window clean example, if Joe Blocks is a VAT registered person, his charges might be £100 to clean windows in a house for a month. He has to charge £100 plus £20, so £120 what he charges. So £20 is what he collected as a VAT. He might have spent on his cleaning equipment, on his purchases where he bought something for £50, and that might have had £10 VAT attached to that, right? So what he does is he collected £20, he paid £10, net is £10, and he pays that to HMRC. There might be circumstances where he might have spent £30 on purchases. Circumstances like that, he can ask for a refund from HMRC because his collectible purchases are much higher than valuable sales. So 85,000 is a threshold, but voluntarily you can register even if the number is lower.
Right, so you can sort of offset the VAT with purchases and things.
Yes, that's right, yes.
Okay. Cool. Now, okay, so you are a limited company or a sole trader and you're looking to get a mortgage. How does this affect your mortgage? Does it matter? Does it affect it at all?
Sole traders, obviously, when it comes to getting a mortgage, it's based on your SA 302 or based on your self-assessment for the last 3 years. So any mortgage broker would take your SA 302s and work out the numbers and tell you, your affordability is this for the mortgage. A limited company is a bit more different. So some lenders will look at your profit of your company and then, work out your affordability. Some lenders might say, for example, if you're a contractor working for a limited company, will look at your daily rate rather than looking at your company accounts. Some lenders will look at, again, they say 302, showing your dividends, your salary, etc., and work out your affordability. Again, best to use a mortgage broker. Then they'll assess your affordability and tell what's the best mortgage out there for you. Again, it's easy to get the mortgage, even if you're self-employed, even if you run a limited company. At Biz Mortgages, we specialize in limited company mortgages and contractor mortgages. If you're one of them, do reach out to us. We can definitely have a discussion on that.
Okay, well, thank you, Vijay, for that great advice. I just wanted to put a reminder out there that these points may or may not be applicable to everybody. So please do get in touch with an accountant if you're wondering if these do suit you or not. If you don't have an accountant, I will leave our WS contact details below, as we are always happy to help. Thank you again for joining us today. We'll be back next week with another episode of Let's Talk Money and Mortgages. Have a great day, stay safe, and we'll see you again soon.